welcome back to my little channel. Today I'm going to make a small response to something Ashley Mardell posted roughly 2 months ago on her channel. I wanted to make a response video to it, but then real life happened, and then the elections in the United States happened, and then I got sidetracked by other things, but today I suddenly remembered, no wait, I wanted to do something with Ashley Mardell. And no, get your mind out of the gutter, nothing like that. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy it.
This video is going to be a discussion with a friend interspliced with a beer and a chat. This is because my pal Riley and I shot a collab at VidCon that ended up being super awesome, but slightly incoherent and hard to edit, as VidCon vids often turn out.
I'm a non-binary trans woman, and I make YouTube videos about feminism and social justice and all sorts of stuff that interests me.
Hopefully you think our conversation is interesting, while my solo commentary clearly drives forward the points I'm trying to make.
Well, I do hope to make a response to that video someday too, but for now let's focus on this one. And I love it. I mean, we're not even half a minute in and she's already saying, well, there's two of us, but my points are the ones that I need to drive home.
So this is a scary video to put out there. I predict that 2 hours after this video is posted, the ratings will be okay, but 2 weeks after it's up, and the ratings will not be so okay.
Well, we are now 2 months after you post it, and I think it's roughly 10,000 likes to about 12,000 dislikes. It's not nice, but it's not really that bad now, is it? Part of it is because of what you're saying though, and this is, well, we'll come to that. There is one thing I need to say though. You did not block responses. You let people respond and you'll post it. This speaks out in favor of you. I really mean that.
And that's because there's a community out there on YouTube made up of viewers and creators who seem set on silencing anyone who talks about anything they deem too social justice-y.
I do guess you mean people like me. And the thing is, I don't care how you call it. I have a problem with people spreading lies. And you can call it social justice if you want, but a lie is a lie. And it, well, basically damages our society. I don't like it when people damage the society I live in, whether I agree with it or not. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to silence you. You have the right to say what you want. But I have the right to respond to what you say, don't I?
Kind of a specific group of YouTubers who are just known for like making angry response videos and kind of sending a lot of commenters to go to people's videos, feminist videos, to dislike them and comment and just like destroy their ratings basically.
Only speaking for myself obviously, but I tend not to be angry, or at least I try not to be angry, and I don't send people anywhere. I mean, I believe that people have their own rights to decide what the fuck they want to do. Yeah, but we do respond to people like you, because you spread lies. That's the main issue really. It's not that you're not allowed to say what you do, it's just that if someone says grass is blue, someone else is allowed to say, well, yeah, no, it's green, really it is.
It's almost like there's a threshold for them of social justice issues that are all right to discuss and support. There's general LGBT rights, sometimes binary trans identities like trans men and trans women, sometimes mental health advocacy, but anything above that threshold, like rape culture, trigger warnings, privilege, non-binary genders, Black Lives Matter, and definitely feminism are not okay in the slightest to these people.
Do you not recognize yourself the things you put above that line? Privileged? Not real. Black Lives Matter? Well, they're lying. Feminism? Well, they're lying. Hell, the 1 in 5 rape statistic, the wage gap. I could go on, and I probably will, but not right now. But yes, those are things that we respond to. I mean, you tell a lie, we bring up that you're telling a lie. How hard is that to understand?
Now, every individual in this community is slightly different. I want to acknowledge that before we continue. There will of course be exceptions to the things I'm about to say, and I don't want you to watch this video and then go on making sweeping generalizations, lumping people in this category and thinking everyone in it is one certain type of way. That's not the case.
Okay, So noted.
That being said, largely the community that I'm talking about has strong associations with things like advocating for freedom of speech, atheism, championing logic and rationality, and if they have channels, most of the videos they make seem to be focused on ripping apart social justice advocates and their views.
Yeah, no, the reason why people respond is not because they are against ideas, because I don't mind free speech. Go ahead and have free speech. I applaud it. But please, stop lying. That's the thing. When I make a video against feminism, it's because that video is filled with lies. If you are about equality of people, then hey, I'm all supporting. Still wonder why you would call yourself a feminist for that, because feminism is built on lies. See the pattern returning?
For the sake of communication, I'll give this community a name. We'll call them anti-feminists.
Yeah, for the sake of argument, let's call it anti-feminism. I mean, you didn't want to lump everyone together, but let's give it a name anyway, so that it's clear that we lump them all together. I'm sorry, I understand though. I mean, giving something a name makes it clear on what you're talking about, whether it is generalizing or not.
This is simply because while all their views differ slightly, a vast majority of them seem to have a major opposition to feminism, so anti-feminists it is. If I find a better name later, I'll refer to them differently.
Just so we're sure, you don't want to make large sweeping generalizations, right? Because I'm not catching that vibe, to be honest. I guess that's because of all of the generalizations I've been hearing.
Now, the real problem I have with the anti-feminist community isn't their views. I mean, their views bum me out, but there will always be people whose views bum me out. That's inevitable. The thing I really dislike about anti-feminists on YouTube is how strongly they advocate for freedom of speech, yet seem determined on silencing anyone they disagree with. And they go out of their way to do it. They actively search for social justice advocates and then make videos devoted to ridiculing specific people. And it's my opinion their critiques tend to be more condescending than constructive.
There is something really wrong with your logic here. Giving someone critiques because you disagree with what they say, or you can actually prove that what they say is wrong, is not the same as trying to silence them. You could in a way say it's to educate them. Or indeed it could be to ridicule you. After all, you give us plenty of reasons to do so. And yes, I do go out of my way to look for videos I can respond to, because there is so much rubbish in them. There's so much lies in them. And the only thing evil needs to win is for good men to stand by idly. Good women too, don't get me wrong on that. But yeah, does that then mean that I think feminism is an evil? Yes, it does.
I feel like they pride themselves on it being a very logical,
Yes.
rational community.
Oh my god.
Well, what do you say to that then? Do you think they are in fact as logical and rational as they claim to be?
Absolutely not. So my problem with this is that a lot of times they're atheist channels, and I'm an atheist, and I don't want to like bring religion/atheism into this, but it is largely like atheists who are like, I'm so logical and I am perfect and everything that I say is objective. And that's obviously not true, but they try to pass themselves off that way. Like, their comments are always, this is illogical, and you don't know what you're talking about, and trying to discredit you and saying that they're objective, when they don't recognize that every person has a bias, every person has a perspective. Even I try to acknowledge my own biases, my own perspectives in my videos. Like, I know when I'm making an argument that this isn't the objective facts, it's an argument. So I just think it's misleading to say that this is everything exactly as it is, and I know that it is, without acknowledging your own perspective.
Well, I guess a lot of people are trying to be objective, and the way to do it is to stick to the facts and not go with the feelings. But a lot of people who support feminism and the multiple gender idea out there do so based on feels, not on facts.
And the videos they make implicitly encourage their audience to go over to their target's channel and harass them.
Remember how I said I prefer to point out lies and I have a problem with lies? That one there is a huge one. Show me one YouTuber that actually tells people to go and harass the ones they're responding to. I'm not going to say there are none, but I doubt that you can find a few. That being said though, maybe I only think that because I can't think of anyone who does it. You could prove me wrong on this.
Their audience bombards the social justice advocates' ratings with dislikes. Many people have bragged to me in the comments about how they made multiple accounts, dozens of accounts, just so they could dislike my content several times. That's dedication.
Well, on that I have to agree with you. That's not just dedication, that's lunacy. So yeah, I don't want people to do that either.
And creepy. Creepy dedication. And it's important to note that lots of these anti-feminist YouTubers have real power and armies of hundreds of thousands of people behind them. How much power does this community have?
Yeah, so it really depends. There are some who are very large YouTubers with a lot of influence that lots of people follow. And if they decide to target someone, especially a smaller person, it can bury them in the amount of dislikes and comments and things like that. But there are smaller people who make response videos and their impact isn't quite as big because it's like any YouTube community, even if it's, I would say, a negative one, it has a wide range of YouTubers with different levels of influence in it, basically.
I've personally been specifically targeted by anti-feminists with millions of subscribers.
I didn't know there were channels that were anti-feminists that were that big. Mostly because the feminist and feminist-aligned societies on YouTube kind of tend to attack the YouTube channels that are anti-feminist. And they try to get people fired or put to jail or, well, those two things are bad enough, I would say. And don't tell me you didn't know that, because if we look at people like Thunderfoot, who has had several attempts to have his channel destroyed, his livelihood destroyed, people actually contacting his real life boss because he's an anti-feminist? No, he just had criticism on feminism. But somehow, yeah, no, we try to silence you. Don't you get the double standard you're advocating here? And then, of course, there's the story on how Clementine Ford got a guy fired because he called her a cunt on a tweet. I mean, these things do happen, and they happen because people like to protect women. They like to hear the stance of these feminists, and, well, listen and believe is not something that's just being said. It's actually being done by a lot of people beyond stupidity. That is, according to me anyway. But don't get me wrong, I do not want people to go to your channel and threaten you or insult you, because that's not constructive. I don't want to silence you, I want to educate you. I want to give you the viewpoints that I think you're lacking. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about equality. I really am. The thing is, feminism isn't.
When somebody with that much social influence goes out of their way to talk about just how dumb they think you are, it's scary.
Isn't it a reason to get your facts straight, though?
And the ramifications of their choice to do this are serious. As a direct result, my comment sections have become filled with threats, violence, and hate speech. And you can't say they are simply exercising their right to disagree with me. It goes far beyond that.
It's a little bit double. I mean, I am a proponent of free speech, but I'm not a proponent of threats and insults. But people feel insulted by the way you are talking to them. So why can't they then repay in kind?
These kinds of audiences have even given themselves a name. They call themselves attack helicopters, and they do attack in droves.
Well, you're obviously missing the irony in this. The whole idea of identifying or self-identifying as attack helicopter is a direct response to people having the weirdest self-identifying markers and genders. This is how it existed. This is how it came to be. You don't see that though, do you? And don't forget, these people started identifying as attack helicopters because, well, you can't say that you're normal or hetero anymore. You have to say cisgendered because, well, that's weird. You're cis. Never mind the fact that roughly 99% of the world is normal or hetero, or as you want to call it, cisgendered. And trust me, I don't identify as cisgendered. That's just one of those made-up words for you people, and this is why people attack you, because of the stupidity you're spouting.
I understand that their actions aren't face-to-face, their attacks are just over the internet, but it's still harassment. I'll prove it to you. Comments I get on my Everything Gender video, a project frequently targeted by anti-feminists, go as follows. Trigger warning, incredibly graphic, and derogatory language up next.
Kind of funny, we get told that it's the anti-feminists and the anti-social justice warriors that keep spreading trigger warnings, but it really is you people, isn't it? And yes, that wasn't nice of me. I mean, it's a little bit generalizing. I wonder how come.
Am I the only one who would happily gun down any of the mentally challenged cunts featured in this video? This is the most cancerous, autistic, idiotic video ever. I sexually identify as an attack helicopter. Ever since I was a boy, I dreamed of soaring over the oil fields, dropping hot, sticky loads on disgusting foreigners. People say to me that a person being a helicopter is impossible and I'm fucking retarded, but I don't care. I'm beautiful. I'm having a plastic surgeon install rotary blades, 30mm cannons, and AMG 114 Hellfire missiles into my body. From now on, I want you guys to call me Apache and respect my right to kill from above and kill needlessly. If you can't accept me, then you're a heliphobe and you need to check your vehicle privilege. Thank you for being so understanding.
Now, again, I don't agree with the threats, I don't agree with the insults, but you have to admit that the heliphobe bit is pretty brilliant, isn't it? But you don't see the irony in this. But this is what people that basically invent their own genders keep doing. And we have to accept it, because if we don't accept it, we're just wrong. And I don't really care what you identify with, but how come it has to affect my life? If you want to be known as Zer, well, by all means go ahead and tell your friends to call you Zer, but don't demand it of me, because I don't care. You're a woman or a man, simple as that. The whole idea of a transgender is that you go from one to the other. Therefore, there are only still two options. And I have to admit, there's a third option, because, well, in all fairness, biologically speaking, you can also be a hermaphrodite. So then you have to choose. But other than that, there is no split gender, wolf gender, dragon gender. Fuck that bullshit. And if that bullshit is real, then in all fairness, the Apache is real too. Oh, and I know I started talking about wolf gender and dragon gender, but this is also true for demi-girl and demi-boy and queer gender and gender fluid. Stop with the bullshit, please.
If I had a bullet for every gender there was, I'd only need a double-barrel shotgun.
Okay, veiled threat aside, how is that not true?
I need to learn to tie a noose. Have you had any personal contact with the anti-social justice community?
I have had people make response videos to mine with not the nicest language in them that does send people to my videos, and that's kind of been my experience with them. Is just I wake up in the morning and there's 100 comments telling me to kill myself, and that's really the extent of my experience with them. I try to avoid watching the response videos.
Good for you!
I can understand you not wanting to watch videos where people only insult you. Don't get me wrong, I do. But at the same time, you are creating an echo chamber, because you are putting out a lot of stuff, but you don't want to hear the response. And people pick up on that. This is why they get more aggravated when they do respond. And trust me, most movie makers or video makers or whatever, they try to keep it clean. Now, I for one am always open to discuss this with anyone. So why aren't you?
Do you watch them? If they're
I can't help it. If there's
Really?
one about me...
Really? I have not watched
Oh!
Really?
I have to. I know that there's a video
Oh my
just like
gosh.
hating me out there.
them. Yeah?
Yeah, maybe I'm giving them power. I am.
Yeah. Like, that's what I was worried about, is if I watch it, it's like I'm giving them views, I'm
Sure.
giving them watch time, I'm kind of validating that what they're doing is an okay thing that, like, people are going to watch.
I'm sorry, Riley, but you're rather disingenuous, aren't you? How is this not true the other way around?
But no, I feel the curiosity. Like, I do want to know what's in it. But at the same time, I don't want to... I know it's just going to make me feel bad, and it's just going to frustrate me, and so I try not to.
And this is why people don't like you. I mean, in all fairness, you spout out a lot of negativity towards people who are not like you, but you're not willing to listen to those that are not like you. And I understand, once again, you shouldn't be listening to insults or whatnot. But at the same time, You should listen to arguments, mate. You really should.
And it often goes beyond cyberbullying. One of my good friends, who's a creator, expressed having problems in their real life as a product of these anti-feminists. People at his school found the anti-feminist videos targeting him, and they used these videos as fuel to make fun of him IRL. He also received threats before going to VidCon from anti-feminists. Needless to say, my friend did not feel the safest at the con. Now, I imagine anti-feminist creators who see this video will say they are not responsible for the actions of their audience.
You still don't get it, do you? Of course I'm not responsible for the action of anyone else. I'm responsible for my action. Unless I specifically tell you to go do something, then yes, sure, you can hold me responsible too. But I never say that. And most movie makers I know never say that. And yes, I know it's bad that a boy or a girl feels threatened, or that they get attacked, or that their livelihoods get destroyed. You know who have that happen to them a lot? Anti-feminists. Because once your name gets out, they'll try to get you fired. And it has happened. You know it has happened.
This seems like a huge cop-out to me. Your audience certainly isn't literally controlled by you. You're not in their home forcing their hand, but we've seen this pattern for years now. An anti-feminist makes a targeting video and their audience goes over in droves trying to destroy the target. That's just what happens. This leads me to believe they either condone the behavior or simply don't care. That's where anti-feminists and I differ. If my audience went over and virtually attacked another creator because of things I said, I'd be pissed. Maybe I'm an idealist, but I'd like to hope we can live in a world where we disagree, but instead of having our audiences fight the fight for us, we can open our ears and minds and listen, learn, and discuss.
You still don't get it, do you? Of course I'm not responsible for the action of anyone else. I'm responsible for my action. Unless I specifically tell you to go do something, then yes, sure, you can hold me responsible too. But I never say that. And most movie makers I know never say that. And yes, I know it's bad that a boy or a girl feels threatened, or that they get attacked, or that their livelihoods get destroyed. You know who have that happen to them a lot? Anti-feminists. Because once your name gets out, they'll try to get you fired. And it has happened. You know it has happened.